Hello listeners and fellow Game Pass fans, get yourself set and ready for your favourite unofficial Game Pass podcast, Game Pass News. So I'll hand you over to Nick and Sean and get the show started.
Welcome to Game Pass News, recorded live Tuesday, May 9th. I'm Nintendo, one half of the awesome GPN crew, Mr. Sean Abbott. Yep, he's the other half, and he's across the pond, but he's here right in front of me now, thanks to the miracles of technology. Sean, he's going to give us an update on Redfall, and I am going to give you my thoughts on Ravenlok, and together we will be chatting about what's going on in Xbox and Game Pass, so you should sit down, buckle up, because Game Pass News, it can be one crazy ride.
Let's look at the funk.
I still swear that is the best intro music you've picked out of all the ones for me to guess. It's still my favorite one so far. Hence why it keeps making a return.
That's right. Yeah, it's here. It's here, ladies. So this is the last episode of Season 2. We will be unveiling a few new things in Season 3, so we're excited for that. But Sean, man, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm good. Had a very busy weekend. Work was crazy. Also have a bit of a gruesome story.
Oh no.
Too. Yeah, so somebody decided that using an angle grinder across the back of his hand would have been a great idea. But
oh, does he still have
that
a
was
hand?
Fun. That was. He still has a hand. It opened the back of his hand up by about 3 inches long and 2 inches wide and 1.5 inches deep.
That sounds so bad.
That was interesting to patch up and wave on his way to hospital.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's one of my many roles and responsibilities at work.
1 inch deep. I mean, you're like halfway through the hand at that point. Like,
yeah, it was.
okay.
Yeah, it was like
I'm gonna try to
it was
move
like
on
if
from
you
that.
imagine the dead spot at the back of your thumb to the center of your hand. It would just
Seriously
Fun.
gives me shivers. Like, oh gosh, God bless you. Did you glue it? Have you sell ass?
No, we
Get back to work. I give you glue.
we're first responders, so basically cleaned him up, had a look at it, and was like, nope. We could close it up. We could squeeze it together closed, but they don't let us loose with stuff like that, unfortunately.
Oh
Otherwise,
my gosh.
yeah.
Hey, well,
So,
there's gonna be like a squeamish tag on this one. Let me tell you. Oh, man.
So yeah, we kind of like I got the other first aider that was with me to help squeeze it together. We put a little bit of a pad across it, and then I expertly bandaged his hand up and immobilized his thumb so it might not open up again. And then he got transferred across to our closest accident and emergency.
So how's he doing now?
I'm not sure.
No, fair enough. Sean's like doing like little like
it.
Muppet things with his hand, like, hello, how are you? Just like making it talk. That's awful. And that's man, wow.
So yeah, that was my, I think it was Sunday, maybe. Yeah, that was Sunday. So that was interesting Sunday morning. And then everybody was off Monday because we had a bank holiday in lieu of the coronation on Saturday. Which
yeah, man.
Yep, I didn't watch it because I was at work, but Lindsay watched it. She said it was very drawn out. So, and the irony of everybody like celebrating and clapping a really old rich guy in his golden carriage when we're in an economical crisis at the moment. There was just something very ironic about that scene.
Sure.
So that was Monday, and now it's Tuesday. I serviced my mountain bike. I dug that out because we got a couple of guys that have just bought some new bikes and stuff at work. So we're looking at some different mountain bike trails to hit in the UK, and so I thought I'd dig mine out, service it, give it a clean, and get that ready to roll. So hopefully next week I'll be tearing up some mountain bike trails.
Nice.
That's the hope, anyway. How are you doing?
Oh, dude, it was crazy for me as well, but not for work purposes. Actually, just the opposite. There's like a bazillion things going on. My kids got a trampoline for Christmas, and of course that wasn't going up during Christmas here in Michigan. So it just was kind of warm enough to be honest, there were a couple days I could have done it beforehand, but it just never lined up. But it was warm and dry, and it lined up, and so I spent like half a day putting a trampoline together with my father-in-law. Got that together. Then we had a church event, men's event type thing. So, and I was helping to run that, so I went like straight to that. And then from there, I think I kind of talked about my grandmother is needing more help, and so my aunt is moving in with her. So then I helped my aunt with the rest of the fam move into my grandmother's. So yeah, whew, man, it was busy. And then of course, and rightfully so, on Sunday the kids are like, hey, you've been busy and you got this new trampoline, and so I want to jump on it. So then it was like all I wanted to do was not do anything, but instead I got my exercise by jumping on a trampoline. Which, can I say, I'm having a lot of fun with the trampoline. We got one that was like you could like all jump on. It's 1,000-pound rated type deal. So
the picture you sent me, I know for a fact my kids would go nuts in that. This thing looks huge, like a proper, like a full size bounce house.
Yeah, it's 14 feet in diameter, and they're loving it. They're having a great time, playing all kinds of, I don't know. We like Noah's. Do you guys play Gaga Ball over there? Is that a thing? Do you know what that is? Is that
I don't, but if you tell me the premise, I'll probably give you the English name.
Fair enough. That's actually really good. I'd love to know it. So normally what it is it's in this like is it a octagon? It's like a wooden octagon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And you have to tap the ball while it's on the ground. And the idea is that and by tap, I mean you hit it pretty hard and knock it to the other side of the octagon. And it's about like a 10-foot octagon usually. And the kids have to try to move around. And if the ball hits you in your shins or lower, you're out. And if but the idea is that you stop it with your hand and knock it back, or get out of the way and let it hit the back of the Gaga pit corral. So anyways, that's what it is. It's really big over here. Like all the parks have one. And so they've been playing Gaga Ball in the trampoline, which actually I don't so much care for the game, but that's actually kind of fun. That is a fun adaptation of that game. So
oh yeah, I have not seen anything like this in the UK before. So there you go. I wouldn't know what to call it.
All right. Well, see, there it is. I don't know if it's like a regional thing or if it's all throughout the US. I'm not really sure, but over here, the kids like just love this game. I don't know what it is. Like there's a Gaga Ball pit in the park next to us, and if we go there with a ball and start playing, it'll be full in no time. Like kids are like, can I join? Oh, can I join you guys? Like it'll be just like me, Noah, and Becca and Ariel, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, there's like 15 kids in there, and I'm like, well, you guys have fun. I'm gonna step out. So yeah, Sean, we are at the eve, in the shadow of Tears of the Kingdom. Are you excited?
Super excited. It's like to the point where when I've been playing Redfall, I was hoping I was at the end, and then as I'll talk about later, something has happened in the game and I'm not at the end, and I was literally like excited and very disappointed at the same time, because I was like, crap. this is gonna go over longer than I expected.
Yeah. I'll talk about Ravenlok too later in the podcast. I finished that and I was like, what do I want to do for these 2 days? Because like I'm not gonna like start anything too big, and I'm playing Advanced Wars with my son and Kirby with my son and mom. So it's like, well, okay, those I'm not gonna play any of those. And so it was like, wonder what I might do. You know what I think I might do? I've been saying this for a while, but I think if I have time in the next 2 days, and I have some time to play, I may download No Man's Sky. I've been saying I was gonna like just try it, Like I mean, I'm not planning to like get really deep into it, but just to get a feel for it, because everybody says like, oh, Starfeild looks like No Man's Sky, and I've been wanting to like get a feel for it so that when time comes I can be like, oh yeah, it is, or no, it's not.
Scratch the surface of what it might be to play Starfeild.
Yeah, I'm just kind of interested. I want to have some reference point because I'm sure it's going to come up. especially we'll talk about the showcase on June 11th a little bit. I'm sure it's going to come up. You're going to be like, still looks like No Man's Sky to me. And so I wanted some reference point to be like, oh, yeah, you're kind of right. Or, no, you're totally wrong. So, yeah. Abucel says they put in, it must be a southern Midwest. It's a thing in the southern Midwest. Gaga Ball Pits. Not Zelda or No Man's Sky. That his son's school put one in 4 years ago. So, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. We were interested. I know probably most of y'all know this, but we didn't. We were like, does it drop for midnight for everybody? Which was gonna kind of make me jealous of Sean because he'd get it 5 hours before me. But no, it does not. It drops for midnight for me and for 5 a.m. for you. Everybody gets it at the same time. Which I thought Jesse's been talking about him getting the Japanese version because he got it. Does it drop earlier in Japan or something?
I didn't in the website I was looking at. It literally had like, I might have done had Western. I think it's 9 Western, 10 Mountain, 11 Central, and then 12 a.m. midnight for Eastern, which is where you sit. So then, if I was to add 5 hours to that, it's going to be 5 a.m. for me. So
I'm sorry, Abucel doesn't have a son. He said my kid's school. My bad. So let me correct myself. Yeah, the only reason I say that is because Jesse had been talking about having the Japanese, downloading the Japanese version so he could play it like 12 hours earlier or something. So I don't know. Anyways, we're excited for it. That's the main thing. Whenever the stupid icon unlocks on our screen.
Yeah, it's sat there. I've pressed it many times, just like, go on, have they dropped the ball and let people play? No,
How hilarious would that
tight.
be if like they just let one guy out of the entire world, they're just like, we're just gonna unlock his. We're not even gonna tell him. We're just gonna see if see if he notices that we've unlocked his. That would be hilarious, but also never happen. But yeah. You have to be somebody like totally rando. That'd be pretty funny. All right. Events. Do we have any events? Anything?
I put that we had nothing, and everybody should just leave us alone for the events for the next month because of Zelda. But I realized that June the 11th, we actually need to sit down and do a live react to the showcase. So that's probably the only event we have coming up, and you can join us here on Twitch while we review it live. And then because Nick's going to be sunning himself up, and we've got such a large event that we predict nothing's really going to happen in the week beforehand, we're going to go showcase straight into the podcast for that week. So
yeah, so you're going to get your podcast like a day, maybe a little bit later, depending on what Sean's got going on. So a day or so later than what you normally would. So you won't hear from us for like a week, but hang in there, we'll be there. The only other thing I do want to say is so last case of Benedict Fox did come down. I actually lost 2 points on that. Score finally dropped for that. Enough people. Yeah, I got a 68 on that, which actually I think that's about right. A lot of people said the same thing I did. It seemed obtuse and you didn't know where you were going and the fighting seemed a little, I don't know. It just didn't, none of it. There seems like the puzzles and the exploration could be cool, but they hit it under this obtuse layer of we're not going to tell you anything. And also there's sketchy combat. So that's kind of what I thought, and that's what a lot of the reviewers were saying. So I'm kind of down for that.
See, and that was me really happy thinking, oh yeah, you might have dropped 2 points. No, wait, no, there's still 20 point difference between us.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Yeah, right now Redfall sits at a 59. It's just been going down more and more each day. It seems like last time we were talking, I think it was at like 66 or something like that. So
people are wrong, so wrong.
People are wrong, and we're gonna touch base on that right actually now as we get into top stories and talk about what Phil talk about. All right, Sean, you have notes, much better notes than I do. So I am gonna let you lead this. Phil was on Kindda Funny, and he seemed to me candid and open, and so you lead us on this conversation.
Yeah, he kept referencing throughout the interview that he wasn't in his usual positive self regarding what was going on. He seemed really beat, and been a very difficult 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
First week CMA kind of you know pissed in his cornflakes a little
Yeah,
bit, and then
kicked him in
week
the
two
balls.
when he drops the first one of the first big games really for this year, he was kind of like and that's scored as poorly as it has scored and had the critics absolutely crapping all over it as well. So he was really beat up, but it made for a really good interview. It was enjoyable to watch, and I don't normally like to watch things like that, like
Mm-hmm.
especially interviews but that was quite an interesting one to watch, and he made a lot of really good points, but he also opened up a lot of questions for me anyway. More questions than what the guys that were doing the interviews at Kind of Funny were asking. So, Phil, if you ever want to come and join us, we will ask lots of questions. It'd be awesome. But yeah, he started out asking the kind of address the Activision Blizzard King kind of thing, and just like the CMA's verdict, and he was kind of shocked. He was like, they he doesn't believe that there is a cloud gaming market as of yet, um, and that they don't hold a really strong point in the cloud gaming market. But to be the only major game developer and designer and hardware designer that have kind of focused on the cloud gaming aspect of stuff and have done it for as long as they have. So it started all the way back in 2016 and brought it all the way to 2023. The CMA launched the stats saying that they kind of currently hold 60 to 70% of this market that Phil doesn't believe exists. It was just crazy for him to sit there and say that he can't see that this is a market yet. Game Pass is one of the biggest money making franchises that Xbox have come out with. We make podcasts about it. There is other podcasts out there about Game Pass,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes a lot of money, brings a lot of subscribers. Most people go above and beyond just a regular Xbox Live subscription and chuck Game Pass in there as well because it's worth having, even if it is for 5 or 6 games that you might have played for the year. So,
Yeah, I mean, I
and then he
think
led
it
into.
exists. I don't. I think the market exists. I think, like I said a couple weeks ago, I think that it doesn't help competition what they're doing. It hurts it because it's a market that exists almost because of Xbox. And now they're saying, listen, Xbox, if you wouldn't have done this, we'd probably let this happen. But now you got this thing going, and they're kind of like hurting they're kind of like trying to step on their innovation. Nobody else is there, not anymore. I mean, they're okay. You have Apple and Netflix doing their thing. Google left the space, like we said. It exists, but they probably do own 60-70% of the market, but I think Phil's looking at it from a financial standpoint and saying, is it really like, I don't know, is it really gaining anything? The market's not there. I mean, I can make
Yeah,
a shit sandwich market and I can own 100% of it, but nobody wants to buy my shit sandwiches. So who cares if I own 100% of the shit sandwich market? I mean, I don't like what's the point?
yeah. They might like this. This is the thing I was going to say. They might own 60 to 7% of this current market that's there with Apple, Netflix, like you said, and Amazon kind of owning other little aspects of it. But it's how much money they've spent to have the gain that they've got doesn't make it you doesn't make it competitive. They've spent
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money on Game Pass and acquiring games and titles and other developers and publishers to bring in underneath their umbrella of Microsoft Studios to make the games for Game Pass. So it's how much money have they spent to how much money have they made.
Mm-hmm.
But then also the CMA have kind of probably looked at how much money they could make off capitalizing on Activision, Blizzard, King Games, and their market and influence on the gaming community, and what they could then go to make with those underneath them. So I can kind of see why then I was really pissed off when it first, but the more I've kind of thought about it, the more I've looked at it and listened to what Phil was saying is there's a lot for them to be talking about, and they're appealing it. That he openly said that's what they're going to do. In 2 weeks' time, they're going to appeal it. So we'll see what comes of it. it was just he made an interesting point off the back of all these comments that saying that the acquisition wasn't their strategy, but it was an accelerant for their strategy. And I'm like, if you're going to call a $75 million acquisition an accelerant to your strategy, what the fuck is your game plan? Because Christ, that is an investment and a gamble and a half to call it an accelerant to your strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, he's in a pickle, right? He sits there and says, well, the market doesn't really exist and it's not there. Well, that's true. That's not true, but there's not a lot there at the moment, and what there is, they own most of. But it's where it's probably going, and and that would set them up very nicely to have all these 10-year deals with all these online gaming rando cloud companies that I didn't know existed until Microsoft started to make 10-year deals with them. And I shouldn't say rando because a lot of them have millions and millions of users. I just didn't know they existed. Like a lot of them aren't in America, or if they are, I don't know. So, yeah, so it's a pickle. He has to kind of dance around being cool and being top dog in this space, but yet he can't say that because then he just made the CMA right.
Yeah. So once he'd finished talking about the CMA, which they didn't spend a lot of time on, that was just in the intro section of it. They then went into to really going into like questioning about Redfall and the fallout from Redfall. Phil was really open and honest, and this is what I absolutely loved about the interview and really enjoyed about him. Is he laid it all out there. He was like, "This is it. These are the issues I've got with it," and like he took really good ownership of it. So he says that he's currently not happy with himself, or with as Xbox as a whole, they're currently not happy with themselves and the people that were behind the game, and he feels like they've let the community down with how the game's performed. He kind of touched it on this a little bit. He touches on this a little bit later in the interview by saying that they have to look at transparency and how they balance, because this game, when it was shown off in the showcase, looked absolutely fantastic. It was running at 60 frames a second on the PC. It looked absolutely stunning, and they had all this promise. And then what they've delivered has been subpar, or has, for some people, has been subpar. I mean, I've had one or two issues and have played 15 hours of the game, and I'm really happy with it. But some people are kind of looking at it going, well, this isn't as next gen as we wanted it to be. We've got this issue, we've had this crashing issue, we've had this is it. So they've pulled it to pieces. And he's been really honest, and he said, we realize we've kind of released a massive pile of crap.
If I can stop you for 1 second, the one thing Phil said in there that I found interesting, he admitted they knew it wasn't going to be 60 frames a second, because he said we cannot release marketing when we know we're not going to live up to it on our consoles, to all of our gamers. So they released PC footage that was 60 frames a second that they knew wasn't going to happen to a console, and that's a big problem. Like a marketing, you have a marketing company that should know, hey, this is an issue. We can't do that.
But the thing is that it depends on what they put. This is the transparency side of things. It depends on what they put as a subtitle within that. Because if they showed the footage and said exclusively on PC, then they're absolutely fine to do that, because they have said that the quality that you are seeing is exclusive to the PC version. They haven't said it's not and that's and this is, I think this is what he means by transparency, is that they need to be like, that is it's very vague, and it's a loophole that they can run through. But saying that having two screens running side by side, PC and console, at 30 frames a second for launch, it's very, very weird and difficult. But yeah, and he was honest with it. He was like, look, we know we've done this and we're sorry. The only thing that he won't agree with in this, and he said that wholeheartedly, says he won't agree that the team that he worked with, Arcane Studios, they didn't have creative direction. He said that it was great. They're taking on they took on a game and a game style that they're not really used to or have done before, and they kind of like run with it. And he will never block a developer or a publisher from doing that. he was quite happy. Like Rare took on Sea of Thieves, and they had issues with that at the beginning, and they worked on getting that game great. And that game is huge now; people absolutely love it. So like Rare took a massive risk with Sea of Thieves, and it's paid off. And Tango Gameworks did exactly the same with Hi-Fi Rush. He said that loads of people are absolutely loving Hi-Fi Rush. Age of Empires 2 is doing better than Hi-Fi Rush, but more people are talking about Hi-Fi Rush than they are Age of Empires. And he was really happy with it. Tango Gameworks went and did this, and they kind of went in a direction. And he says, I'm never going to block, ever going to block a developer from having a creative output. So
Yeah, when I heard that, I thought, well, that's great. I mean, if I have a builder that comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to build glass houses," well, okay, sure, there's a market for that. It might not be our market or where we are. And I guess let's just say this: if a builder has this creative idea but it's shitty, well, as much as I'd love for you to do your creative idea, I need a product that I can put on the market. So, I mean, there's kind of a balancing act here. I appreciate him propping up the devs and being there for the devs, but the product has to be sound. Now, I would argue, and we'll talk about this, I would argue that Redfall has a core. A lot of reviewers are saying it's not a core sound product, and I would argue that is completely wrong. But I would say there is that piece. I would say overall, these creative directions they've gone have worked pretty well.
I mean, I'm at a point now in Redfall where I could put it down because I've played enough of the game to really enjoy it. I could put it down and then return to it once the patches come out for 60 frames a second and have a completely different take on the game. Sure. I'm at a point where I could do that quite happily. So he goes on further to say that, and this is where my questions to you and like questions to myself and like talking points came in. Is that he was surprised that the actual reviews of the game are lower than mock reviews. So I'm assuming like the alpha and beta tests that he did with people, he was shocked that those reviews came back much higher than like the actual reviews that people have been giving it, which kind of makes me believe that like are the people in house that are testing these games, are they too invested in Xbox and kind of a little bit of yes men and don't want to give complete criticism, or were they kind of was the bad criticism kind of ignored, or I don't know how these kind of things, I've never been involved with this, I don't know how these kind of things work.
Yeah, we wouldn't have. I mean, we said we wouldn't rate it like this. There's a conundrum in this game that I cannot put my finger on. Of like, well, wait, that's not my experience with the game. But there's enough footage out there for me to say, sure, I see it. I see the footage. I mean, it's not made up. So yeah, a lot of people are having a really crappy experience. But like, how can you play 15 hours of the game and be like, yeah, the AI worked for me. They're doing what they're supposed to. I had a couple glitches, but I mean, overall, life is good.
Glitches. The glitches I've had today are falling through a rock at one point. I've had the Reverend in the firehouse kind of appear in 3 different places at the same time. She was kind of stood there, and 1 was talking, and 2 were just kind of stood there. I've had some issues where I've picked up ammo for the stake launcher, and it's not registered that I've had it, but I could reload the gun and put more ammo in, which is a bit weird. And I've had 1 hard quit where I was returning back to the main screen and the game just crashed, which didn't affect the gameplay. It just crashed out. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. And that's what you regaled us with right there is over 15 hours of gameplay. Yep. And so it's like, I've played games that got in the 80s and had way more problems with that. Let me tell you, way more problems. Call to the Lamb, I'm looking at.
He said that basically he's happy to take ownership for the issues that they've got. So he's quite happily eating the shit sandwich he's been getting from people, like from the people I've had the experiences that given it the bad review, and that they're committed to addressing these features. And they kind of ask the question of how quickly do you address this? Do you wait for the dust to settle and get on it, or are you like, okay, we've released this game. This is the feedback we've had. We know what's going on. Let's jump straight into it. And he was kind of like, and it was giving the impression that this was going to be, they were going to play it. So they were going to review this and get the patches and the DLC out ASAP. So what ASAP looks like for them, I don't know. But
Yeah, they need to I think, and they might be struggling right now to just kind of like put out fires, which totally would make sense. But they got a big enough team that they can work together to make this happen. They need to put out a roadmap, even if it's a squishy roadmap, to say like fall, spring, whatever, and say, hey, listen, we got a patch coming in a month for basic issues. We're gonna try to fix this here, 60 frames here. I think we need to see something. But if they're not sure they can stick to it, then yeah, I'd rather not see it. But that's the thing.
And as much as I know publicly, he has to be kind of there saying, yes, okay, we dropped the ball with this. We understand your issues and your concerns. We're taking on board all the criticism and all the low reviews and bits and pieces like that. I don't agree with them. And I don't agree with them because I believe there is a great core to the game. There isn't many there's lots of games out there like it. So you've got Left 4 Blood, you've got Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead, two very similar style games to this, where you can play multiplayer, you can play single player, and this to me tops them in the fact that there's a lot going on. There's plenty of side missions. There's all the safe house missions you've got to do. There's collectibles. There's various different guns. There's an issue I've got with how many guns you can have at once and having rotation, but that's just for me because how I take on different enemies is completely different, and sometimes you've kind of got to take on the vampires and the human enemies all at the same time, and it's difficult to kind of balance everything. That's why you could do with play, but that's when I thought about it. That's where you could do with having more than one person playing it. So that's where your multiplayer aspect comes in. You could have two people that are targeted for taking out the human enemies, and you could have two people that are targeted for taking out the vampire enemies and work together and do it. Mm-hmm. So trying to do it single player, there's a lot of separating, conquering, and like divide and conquering. So like the vampires move quicker and you can cover more ground. So get away, let them come to you, take out the vampires, and then go back in and take out the human enemies all at the same time. Or get them fighting each other and walk away. I've done that several times, and that's hilarious to do. See who wins first. As I said earlier, they talked about how with the showcase coming up in June, they kind of need to balance game because they were on about surprises coming up in the pipeline. They've kind of got to balance what we see in the showcase versus what we get as a finished product, and they've got to be more transparent with this and how they manage people's expectations going forward. Because this was a turning point. They've for people to see it, they have dropped the ball. They've got stuff coming out. They've had a game come out that they showcased at 60 frames a second, and it's come out at 30 frames a second. Doesn't look great as it did. They didn't really tell us about it until like a month or two before release, when everybody was hoping for this fantastic 60 frames a second first-person vampire shoot. So. And then with the surprises that are coming down the pipeline, and with Microsoft and game studios having the massive umbrella of different developers and publishers underneath them, and they're trying to make lots of different games, is this the first ball drop of many? Are they trying to do too many games for too many genres for too many different kinds of gamers because they want everybody to play lots of different games all over the place, all at the same time on cloud and PC, on console, on handheld? And are they trying to spin many, many plates and not paying attention to the core aspect of gaming and Xbox and what it is?
Yeah, I think what he said with this too, he said, well, listen, this game, when we acquired, when we acquired the studio, this game was further along than Starfield. And it sounds like they really flocked to Starfield and was like, listen, what can we give you? What do you need? How can we help you with this? And they kind of thought, Arcane's got this. Arcane was dealing with an engine that, so I've heard they don't have much experience with in the Unreal Engine. And maybe they didn't quite got this. And I think they're struggling to figure out how to be helpful but not heavy-handed on these studios that they're acquiring. You know, they were heavy-handed on Rare initially, and there are some real horror stories how that worked out back when they acquired that studio. And so they didn't want to do that. So then they kind of, the pendulum swung the other way, right? And they're like, well, okay, we're you do your thing. We're okay. We'll let you do your thing. We're not here to run you. But now it's like, well, okay, maybe we were a little too offhanded on that one. So they got to find that medium ground. And I think they're struggling to find that a little bit.
And he said this exactly. He didn't quote Rare acquisition and the Arcane Studios acquisition, but he said that like they really, in the lessons learned section in the interview, where they kind of like got him to reflect on everything that he's kind of talked about and what they're going to do going forward to this. He kind of said that one of the lessons that they've learned from it is that they need to offer more resources to the developers when they they become part of the family. When they go from making third-party games to making first-party games or being involved in a first-party development, that we have all these resources for you to use them. If you've got a game in mid-development that you're struggling with, ask. We will give you help, and if we have to, which they did with Starfield, and he's even said this, that they changed the date for Starfield because of where it was in development. It wasn't utilizing everything that they had available to them. So they went back and started again from a lower build to build it back up. And in terms of Redfall and the Unreal Engine, the Arcane Studios didn't have much experience with the engine itself, so they used Rare and the Coalition to try and address some of the FPS issues. But obviously the time kind of ran out on that, and there must have been a time frame of, well, the game's coming out here and we can't really afford to delay it. So if these are the only issues we've got, and releasing a game with the issues that we know about, them only being minor, and we think we can get away with it, basically, then that's what we'll do while we try and address it further, and you get a bit, buy yourself some time to look at it.
Yeah. 100%.
And they were just the very quick lessons learned. He understands that he was maybe asking a lot of a small developer to do something on their own where he could have given more help. But like you said, in the past, he's lent too hard on a developer, and it's not made for very good working relationships.
Well, I mean, Arcane has a good history of games. I mean, this is by far the lowest game it's released. So there's a story to be told in the Arcane studio, I would imagine, as well, which we probably won't ever hear or won't hear for a decade, of how this game's production ran, and that may include some missteps with Microsoft as well. I have no idea. Not many people really do, and those who do aren't going to talk. But there's a story in Arcane. I mean, this is a studio that's released Dishonored, and they did what's the game? Deathloop, and so it's like these were all really good games. I mean, Deathloop was a 10 on IGN's scale when it came out.
But they worked really. We've definitely worked closer with Bethesda, who are great at first-person shooters, and I forget the other name involved. I'm sure that was Tango. But anyway, they probably used them more than they did for Redfall. They kind of wanted to maybe run with Redfall because of the creative aspect of it and like how it was completely different. They wanted to kind of be the big boys with it. So.
Yeah, and that maybe, and that's on Phil, and he owns that, and I really appreciate that style of leadership, because that's even if that maybe you're like, damn, Arcane, you should have stepped up and said, we don't got this, but he's not going to do that, and I appreciate that about him. He's going to say, hey, listen, in the end, I'm the leader, I'm the one that gets the big check, so yeah, it's on me. But come on, Arcane. Like he's not gonna say this, but come on, man. Like if you know your game ain't coming together, then knock on the big boy's door and see what needs to happen. Like so,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot involved here. A lot of gears turning and trying to work at the same time.
And then the final section where they call it the quick question section, but there was only really two questions, and one of them was next to was a very feeble question, and I think they were kind of running out of time with Phil. But the main one that they asked, and I thought this was quite an important one, and it's one that I feel ever so slightly worried about as being an avid Xbox gamer. It's great for somebody that's a Game Pass fan and wants lots of games all over the place at any time, but they kind of ask the question is like, are they losing focus on the console users in terms of developing a game that's subpar to everything, but it was available everywhere for everyone at the same time? And Phil didn't really answer this question really well. He gave a very political answer to it. He says that their vision has shifted slightly to be looking at cloud ability or the ability to play games everywhere or anywhere at any time and play together. Um, so I kind of don't feel like he answered the question in full. I don't think he addressed the fact that at the end of the day, people are spending £500-600 on a console rather than a PC. Granted, if you want to play high end games at high end quality, you need to spend high end money, which is where the PC gaming comes into it. But for me, who wants a console that I can just kind of chuck a game in and play and expect like pretty decent graphics and an enjoyable experience, you kind of want to tailor some stuff towards me. And I don't feel like with Redfall and allowing the game to come out and being openly honest about it, I don't feel like they have focused on that. And him not being able to answer that question properly and say that the vision has shifted or slightly, it's like, okay, where are you going with this? Are you looking at the cloud aspect more than you are making games to disk to play reliably?
Well, he did answer that question. I mean, when he talked about losing a generation, when he talked about losing the Xbox One generation, he answered that question. He basically said, "Listen, when people were getting their digital libraries set up, we dropped the ball. We weren't there with good games, and they went other places. And they have libraries of those games, and now, and this is a great point that I had not thought about. He says, listen, now if you're a Sony player and Starfield comes out, and this almost is a direct quote from him, and Starfield comes out and it's a 12 out of 10, you are not going to be like, Starfield's a 12 out of 10. I'm shifting to Sony. Or I'm shifting to Xbox. See you later, Sony. No, you're not. You have a library of games. You have this baby that you love, and it's not gonna happen. You're gonna say, wow, that looks like a good game. Wish you could play it over here, but that's cool. I got all these other games over here, so I'm fine. And so, yeah, they are shifting. They're saying, okay, we need to be able to play everywhere. That's the only way. But it doesn't matter if you can play everywhere. If you can play a crappy game everywhere, nobody's going to want to play your game anywhere. So, whatever, it doesn't matter. So they've got to nail both. They've got to nail playing it everywhere, and they've got to have a good quality product that everybody wants to play everywhere. Otherwise, nobody plays it anywhere. Play nowhere.
And the last bit, it was interesting to watch him talk about how he still sees Xbox as third place in the console war. That made me laugh. He was like, he completely understands that Sony and Nintendo are higher up than them, even though in the sales in certain areas it's completely the other way around. He still believes that in the whole console war aspect of it, and he kept saying in the Jim Ryans and the Nintendos of the world that we currently sit in third. I was like, you might do, but you've got this cloud gaming market held to ransom at the moment, and nobody else is doing anything with it. And regardless of what the CMA do going forward, like you're going to steamroll with this, and it's going to be difficult to match or stop.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's probably an acquisition. That's an acquisition line. A canned line that they're in third place. If he says they're in anything else, it hurts their position with the CMA in that argument, right? He can't say, "Well, I think we're way better than Sony," because once you do that,
Yeah.
then Sony has grounds to be like, "Well, see."
This
So
is
yeah,
what he said.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's that whole thing where on one face people are talking about how amazing they are and they're the best place to be, and on the other face they're like, look at us, we're the worst. You know. I mean, the same thing. Sony's doing the same thing. They're raking in money on these things, and then they're like, if we don't have COD, we're basically bankrupt. So yep, it's just kind of like, well, okay, sure you do. Yeah.
And that was pretty. It was
Yeah.
a 38-minute long interview. The guys asked really good questions. It was a
Mm-hmm.
nice mix of people that were asking questions. And Phil was open and honest, and I can't beat that. Like, I've watched him in other interviews where he's not as open and as honest. So this was nice to see him kind of not as positive and taking ownership of an error rather than trying to find all the positives in it. It was good to see that kind of thing from somebody, because you don't often get that from somebody as high as him or somebody with as
Mm-hmm.
responsibility as him.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is Phil says that starting now, he's just about to hit his first party game a quarter goal. So that's good news. Hopefully they're good games. Which we'll argue that Redfall isn't where people say it is, but yeah, hopefully they're good games and they can ride that out, which might be a reason why it was tough to move Redfall. Can't move it to September, right? That doesn't make any sense. Is there a game already slated for 3 months after that it's like, well, we can't move it there? So anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and he said he mentioned that Minecraft Legends wasn't scoring where he was kind of hoping it would be scoring, but he says that Minecraft Legends kind of scores in its own aspect of things. But over in Japan, Minecraft Legends has done really well. It's like with over 3.5 million players. It's just like, so.
Mm-hmm.
Is he kind of looking now at his demographic in different areas and where he'd probably best to market certain games to?
Yeah. Yeah, so that is the Phil interview from Kind of Funny Games. If you want to see, you can go to Kind of Funny. It's a really small podcast, much smaller than ours, and they will. That's why they got Phil. And you can listen to all 30 minutes of it. And we talked about that 30-minute podcast for about 30 minutes. So there you go.
Yeah, we did well.
In other news, Ghostwire Tokyo hits 4 million players. I'm one of those players. I played it for like an hour. Does this matter, Sean? This whole conversation of like, we had, especially with Xbox with Game Pass, like, well, there were 5 million players that played this game. Like, what's the good metric with this? Like, well, who cares? Like, how long? Like, how many people beat it? Like, what's the metric that you use with Game Pass? Because nobody cares if 4 million people played this game, I don't think.
For me, it's going to be how many people downloaded and played.
Well, that's me.
Because,
I didn't download and play. I think I played on the cloud personally, but
well, there you go. See, I downloaded and played it. So, like, for me, if you're playing it on the cloud, you're carrying your spoon around the buffet and you're taking a little.
That's true. Yeah, if I'm on the cloud, I'm like that's 100% true. That's a great analogy.
So for me, it's like, okay, I like the look of this dish. I'm going to take it back to the table and eat it. So you kind of look at, if you were running a restaurant and you like a buffet restaurant, you'd be like, and you have to go back to the kitchen and be like, okay, this dish is doing really well. I need you to make more of this. So if you're gonna run it on that aspect, and we always circle back to food with this, but look at the size of me. They like food. That's my analogy of this, is the cloud gaming aspect of it, and being able to play a game even on your console via cloud. Is you are literally just taking the cream off the top, having a taste. Is it okay? Do you like seeing a dish, taking it back to the table, eating it? That's where that's, for me, that's the metric that you've got to measure, is how many of this dish is being eaten and how much of this dish has just been tasted. And that way you kind of know where people are going with this. So Ghostwire Tokyo, 4 million people have played it. Great. How many of those people downloaded it and played it for longer than an hour? I mean, I played maybe 8 or 9 hours of Ghostwire Tokyo, and then unfortunately Redfall took over. But it hasn't stopped me from thinking, still having that game loaded up and still wanting to go back to it. Great game, really good, and like weird parkour aspect to it, and you're fighting weird looking ghosts. It ticks a lot of boxes for me. It's come out at a really awkward time.
Sure.
But yeah, that metric of 4 million players is great, but it's more in depth. I need more in depth information. How many people downloaded it? How many people played just via the cloud?
Yeah. I think it means so little. I'm not gonna lie. I think it means just so little the way it sits now. But you're right. How many people? How many people downloaded, played it for? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Probably not gonna give us that information.
It's when you get to your free to play games like Rocket League, Fall Guys, Call of Duty Warzone stuff. It kind of matters a little bit more there because it's how many people are interacting with this great piece of free software. And then it's how many of those people are then purchasing things within this free software, where that's probably a bit more of an important piece of information. But for the 4 million people playing this game that you can get as part of your subscription, nah, probably not the same.
Yeah, I would agree. Microsoft says to expect new surprises and first looks at the showcase. Hints that Hellblade 2 might be at the showcase, which, I mean, isn't really all that surprising. Hopefully it's out this year, says my fantasy critic. Starfeild Direct will be afterwards. It's June 11th at 1 p.m., and we will be streaming it right here at Game Pass News, twitch.com/Game Pass News. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Anything you want to mention?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what new stuff they have there to show us. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing things past 2023 Christmas into 2024 and kind of get a roadmap of what to expect next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we need some kind of news on Contraband. That's something that was showcased and never materialized again. And hopefully some Fable news for you. So
yeah, Fable news would be great, but I wouldn't. I'm not holding my breath, for sure, on that one. News bulletins. Starfield is purported to be M-rated. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be anything but that. But just so you know, M-rated is the purported rating for Starfield.
Is that mature? M for mature?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Is it? What would yours be? What would yours be with the? What is it called over there?
Peggy.
Yeah, Peggy. It'd be like 17 or something like that.
Probably 15 or 8.
15?
Depends on what it is. Like Grand Theft Auto goes to an 18. So
okay,
like I can see M being anywhere from 15 to 18.
Okay. Yeah. So Hogwarts Legacy dropped on Xbox One. It looks good. In the UK, it's pushed Jedi Survivor to number 2 in sales and taken the top spot back. That game has got to be making a friggin' ton of money to still be able to push to top. I mean, granted, it just came out to a whole new sector, and a lot of people have Xbox Ones and all that jazz, but still, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah. I had literally the other day had the whole question, like sit down and talk with Jay about do you use the disk drive in your 1S? Would you prefer if you didn't have one, or if you were to not have one, would it bother you? And so I thought, because I was like, I could probably swing at getting her an Xbox Series S for a birthday in the back end of June, but she couldn't give me a straight answer. So
Gotcha. This is actually, Sean, I might be getting one of these. Xbox announces a permanent cut to the storage expansion. Here in America, prices going from, for the 512 gigs, going from 139 to 89, 1 terabyte 219 to 149, and the 2 terabyte 399 to 279. If I could just get a half gig, I think I would be very content. I have these gigantic games. I'm looking at you.
A half
terabyte. Thank you. I'm old. I'm looking at you, Microsoft Flight Simulator. You take up like half of my hard drive, and I can't bear to get rid of you. And I can't use the cloud version because the cloud version doesn't work with what is this thing? My Thrustmaster, which is always a good name.
See, I to get things like Redfall, Ravenlok, Speedstorm, and Quantum Break downloaded, I had to dig some cuts, and one of those cuts was Warzone. It is gone forever off my. Yeah, been removed. Warzone 2.0 has gone. So
I am blown away. I tried to actually buy so that I could be like Sean. I may have just bought a storage card today, but actually it's sold out everywhere. And
I'm
the
not
only
surprised.
yeah, the only place that I could find it was Amazon, and the price was the previous price before the slash was $139.99. I could find it on Amazon for $165. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't want it that bad. So there you go. But I am excited for when I can actually pick this up. So, there you go. That is our news bulletins. Game Pass headlines out since our last episode is Ravenlok, which came out last week. Then on Monday we had Weird West Definitive Edition, which isn't really a new game; it's just adding the Definitive Edition. And then Shadowrun Trilogy PC, something that's already out on the console version. Now the PC has all three of them as well. They have the trilogy. Game Pass on console has 3 separate Shadowrun games, which makes the trilogy. So there you go. Coming out everywhere in 2 days, which would be Thursday. Fuga Melodies of Steel 2. Kind of looks like a Fire Emblem for kids. I don't know. I don't even play Fire Emblem, so I shouldn't say that. But it's a turn-based game. I watched the trailer. It's not a game for me, but it's there. And then May 16th, it was just announced FIFA 23, literally just today, it was announced that FIFA 23 will be dropping on Game Pass.
Which is quite surprising, as I know EA have lost the licensing with a lot of the names and club names and stuff like that. So whether or not this is just kind of a way of trying to rejuvenate some money by making a deal with Xbox and Game Pass to let it go there. But if you're a FIFA fan and you haven't already bought the game, I mean, if you've bought the game and then see it's going to be free to have, you're going to be pretty annoyed. But yeah, it's going to be available to play.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't really. I probably should know this, but I don't. Is this one of the first FIFA games to come out on Game Pass?
I want to say yes. I think FIFA 2022 came out at the back end of the football season last year, when it was like they were pretty much announcing FIFA 23. So
Okay. Yeah, that is. I guess that when you said that, and then I was like, well, maybe if that actually is a big deal if that's the case. I'm trying to get to the website, but it's.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not a FIFA fan. I know a lot of people that are, so
Feels
for them
like
to be able to play this for free.
Feels like you should be.
Well, I don't know. I'm one of the many few people in the UK that don't follow football at all in the slightest.
All right. You're right. There's not a FIFA game on Game Pass at the moment. Look at that. Yeah, that is a big deal then. Well, good for all you FIFA fans.
Yep.
Man.
All you soccer fans.
That's a huge deal then. I didn't, for some reason I thought there was, we talk about the NHLs and the Maddens and the show and all that jazz. And so I was just like, okay, who cares? It's FIFA 23. It'll, next month we'll be talking about FIFA 22 leaving Game Pass. Who cares? I actually hadn't realized that it wasn't there.
So yeah, so along the lines of EA Sports, so you've got NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, Formula One, that's on there, 2023 is on there, and now football. I don't think there is anything else left in their sporting category other than cricket.
Cricket's on there.
There you go then. The whole sporting calendar.
I had no freaking idea what I was doing. I played 2 hours of cricket, and I still have no idea what you do in that game. And I tried desperately hard to just grasp onto it, and I could not figure it out. But yeah, at least it was. I don't know if it still is, but it's certainly here. I'm gonna look it up. I'm right here.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably still there.
Yeah, Cricket 22. That's the one I played. That's the one I was totally confused on. So yeah. So yeah, you got all the sports. Putt golf. That's probably out there somehow too. But there you go. Oh, and golf is out there too. You can play the trial of the PGA, or you could. It looks like it's gone now, but there was a trial for a while of the PGA. Must have taken it off. So there you go. Game Pass, the place for your sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
New games announced for next week is Planet Lana. That comes May 23rd next week. I think I've seen videos of this and it looks really cute to play. So, players Lana, accompanied by her loyal animal companion Mew, and embark on a rescue mission to save your sister. So, yeah, I have seen a lot of this footage, and I'm actually interested in playing this. It's got Dead Inside, them kind of Limbo, that kind of
100%
side-scrolling action to it with Okay, yeah, this is probably one that I might try and play if I'm not too busy.
I was gonna say May 23rd, Sean. May 23rd. I mean, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I might have finished Zelda by then. Who knows?
God bless you. I hope you do. I will say we knew this was coming. We got a date this week. So we didn't know. We knew about the game and that it was coming to Game Pass. We just didn't know when it was coming, and now we do.
And game's leaving. I kind of updated this because I think I didn't realize my friend Pedro was leaving. I mean, that was an addition to what we already had there.
Okay.
So if you want to play My Friend Pedro, if you haven't played it already, it's a hilarious bullet time style shooter, side-scrolling action, where like you can slow time down and take out the enemies, all while being told what to do by a banana with a brain.
I mean, why not? That sounds amazing.
I enjoyed it. I first played it on the Switch. I played a little bit on Game Pass when I noticed it was on there, and it's hilarious. It's easy to play, hard to master. There's a lot of achievements and hidden achievements with it, and stuff that you've got to do. And like, and playing. Once you've played it through as well, there's a rush version that you can play, which is good. So it offers a lot of replay value. So there's that. Before we leave, Umurangi Generation Special Edition Danganronpa 2 and Hearts of Iron, which we talked about before, I'll leave on May 15th.
Nice. What's up with Games with Gold? Keep on rolling.
Games with Gold is Peaky Blinders still, and Star Wars Racer, which I have claimed, and I have played a lot of arcade action and loved every second of it. So
nice. Very cool.
Yep. It is very loud though, so TV settings wise, if you're going to play Star Wars Racer, make sure you got it turned down a little bit. But I realized for whatever reason, the Xbox 360 games that come around are really loud.
Huh, that's interesting. And that is our Game Pass headlines for this week, folks. We are on to Xbox Spotlight. Okay. Well, I don't know, Sean. You've been playing a lot of Redfall. You want to just give us an update on how you're feeling with that game, or how's it playing? Or we've kind of chatted back and forth.
Yeah.
So you just go with it.
Yeah. So I'm just over 15 hours in. I thought I was at the end of the game. As I've been playing it, I did all the side missions for the Commonwealth. Well, I say Commonwealth, that's Fallout, but for the Commons, which is the firehouse, you can kind of pick up a lot of side quests. So that's like your popcorn machine. There's a whole Reverend thing where you've got a place to watch and stuff like that, and a couple of other bits and pieces. So I did all those, did all the main kind of missions leading up to before I take on the Hollow Man, and then stopped and went around kind of exploring everywhere, trying to unlock all the different places. Did all the safe houses, cleared all the neighborhoods, cleared all the vampire nests, and I was like, right, cool. I'm like level like 12 or 13 or something. I thought, right, okay, I'm off to go and take on the Hollow Man, thinking it was the last mission. Did the last mission. It was quite an easy one to do. You'd go back up to the big mansion, go through the door like you would do in the vampire nests. bit of a weird and wonderful twist and turn, get through this, that, and the other weird world. Took on the Hollow Man, took him out, and I was like, great, this is fantastic. I'll go back to the firehouse. We'll all rejoice and dance around in victory of ridding ridding Redfall of vampires and the sun being all blocked out. And then they were like, oh yeah, there's this other place called Boreal Heights that you kind of they need your help too. So go through this tunnel and go there. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just like a one mission thing. Go there and just do this one thing for them and game over. And I was like, no. I walked in and the freaking map is exactly the same size as the original Redfall map, and it's like even harder to get around because there's big mountains in the middle. And I'm like, okay, this game's getting bigger and bigger.
It's funny. Sean's like Burial Heights. They could. I've saved you guys. That's all I'm doing. I'm done. I'm done with you people.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I got like 20 minutes in before we started recording. Did one little mission, which was literally waiting for nighttime to place a candle. Yeah, I've kind of got into the grind of things of like, I know I've got certain weapons for taking on the human enemies. I've got a certain array of weapons for taking on the vampires. I kind of understand the level system when it comes to the weapons. As for a while, I was like level 12 and using weapons that were still level 4 and scrapping the weapons that I was picking up because I didn't think they were as powerful as what I currently had. So I stopped and kind of read through the stats and had a look at things and was like, oh, okay, yeah. So there is damage stats, reload stats, and stuff like that. So kind of look through them, understanding it. Same with the other abilities that you have in terms of the vampire blood you can use and vampire gods attachments you can have, which is cool. One other thing that they've done, which I found was really interesting, whenever you kill a special vampire, a little like loading bar pops up, and the more you piss off the vampires, the more this bar goes up, and then when it gets all the way to the end, they send like a super strong vampire to try and take you out. Called a rook. So they send a rook storm, which is quite interesting.
Huh. So do you think they maybe they talked about this? Do they have plans to just continually add to this game, you think? Like add more maps or whatever? Or you think they're going to be done?
Yeah, I reckon they could quite easily say, yeah, I think it's something they could do quite easily, or add stuff on the side, new areas that they're going to, or revisit Redfall because one of the vampire gods realized that you'd taken out the Hollow Man, so was wanting to go back in and stamp on his ground, this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think there's stuff you can do. There's NPCs, so like at one point the doctor that's in the firehouse goes to visit the grave of his father, who is now a vampire, and his father then kills him, so you then got to kill the vampire father. And there's like you could always bring back the doctor as another vampire that you have to. There's so much they can do. There's so many different NPCs. The pregnant lady's still pregnant, so there's all that kind of stuff to go through yet.
It's like, hey, you ever gonna have that baby? Is there really a baby?
So there's still, So there's still lots to go through. The game is a lot bigger than I expected and anticipated. And the only gripe I'm going to have with it at this point is that I'm very much at a stage where it's go to this place, do this mission, kill these vampires, come back to this place, give this to somebody. The fetch and retrieve quest side of it is becoming, but the difficulty of the vampires and the different cultists in this area has kind of escalated quite quickly. So it's not as easy to run and gun as it was. So, and with the way the map's shaped, it's not as easy to get around as well. So there's a lot of forcing you to go to, like, Redfall's quite flat, so you can kind of pick a direction and go, I'm going to go that way in a straight line. Where this place is kind of like you can go that way in a straight line, but then there's this big mountain that you can't traverse. So you've either got to go through this dark tunnel, which is full of vampires, or go the long way around where you're probably going to run into cultists. So that's one way of making the game longer and more difficult.
Sure. Do you think there's going to be a neighborhood clearing thing like you had in Redfall, where you're clearing out a
Yeah,
neighborhood?
it's already there.
Is it
Already,
okay?
I've unlocked the first safe house and done the first safe house mission, and it automatically gives like a section in for the neighborhoods.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's cool. So would you still? You said around an 8, I believe. Would you still rate it around an
Yeah,
8?
I'd still stick it there. It's got lots to play. There's lots of collectibles. The weapon system's good. Um, you know, I'd still like to play this as a quad multiplayer if I could and see. Um, but I think now the balancing is quite difficult because if I was to play a game with
Yeah.
you, the level of weapons I've got now that you can carry with me, I'd probably make it a bit of a walk in the park for you.
Oh yeah, if you started where I was, and then if I start where you are, I'm pretty much useless because my character isn't leveled up at all. So yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
unless you sat back. Well, the thing is, what you could do now is you could sit back, let me kill a load of stuff. You go in, pick up all the weapons, and then take that back with you. And it's kind of like this.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to make it easier for me. Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic where you kind of have to level up together, if you're gonna, and just continually play that way if that's what you're gonna do, which makes it difficult.
Yeah,
Um, but
and the leveling up aspect is still slow. I haven't found a way of kind of grinding that other than just going around and killing a load of people.
yeah. Anything else you've been playing? I mean, 15 hours in
Um,
Redfall. I'd be shocked if there was much more.
yeah, I played Ravenlok. So while you were doing the stream of Ravenlok, I was kind of watching that and playing Redfall at the same time, and I enjoyed what I saw of what you played at Ravenlock. So I downloaded that and played that as well, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I played of it. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll pick up there since that's my main game. I played that. It's a short experience, about 6 hours, so I was able to actually get all the way through it. Um, it is a cute game. It's very pretty. The art style, man, is it like hand drawn? I don't even know what to say how the art style is. It's like
Yeah, I just said with
pixelatedly hand
like
drawn. I don't know.
I got a Yoshi's Crafted World style feel, but with less cardboard and tape.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That makes sense. The music is so-so. I mean, it's not bad. It's not something you're gonna write home about. The combat is very simple. It's very hack and slashy. You get some specials. The cool thing is the specials are all like one button hits, which is nice. Makes it easy. There's some fetch quests, not a lot, some. The game is built on fetch quests. Kind of go here, do this. I will say I didn't mind them. I don't mind fetch quests if it's not like, hey, go get this item, okay, and then bring it back to me. It was really kind of like, you need to get this item to this person or do this thing, and it didn't make me run back and forth. When it makes you run back and forth like a bunch, that's when fetch quests start to really annoy me. So it didn't have that aspect to it. It was just kind of do this thing, and then it opened up another thing. And overall, I thought it was a good game. The bosses are really cool looking. I really wish they would be more difficult, and I don't say that about many games. I'm not big into really super hard games, but I mean, this one thing I fought was this like three-headed dragon, and he looked so huge, but it was just kind of like, swing your sword some, shoot a couple specials at him, and then he's dead. You're like, okay, well, there you go. I mean, if the if the battle could be as epic as the monster looks, it could be pretty impressive. I will say, if you have kids and they're like they want to try this more adventure style game, this might be a great game to just give them a controller and let them try it. Help them out when they need it. Point them in the right direction. There are some puzzles which can be a bit difficult. Which, Sean, I will say, later in the game, you come across two, I believe, puzzles which are fun. They make you. I know how you like to break out the paper and pencil.
Is that
And
I did the one in the Mask Mansion.
Nope. That one's pretty simple. There's one like where you have a riddle and you have to find what it is, and the riddle tells you, or find out what these symbols are, and the riddle tells you what order the symbols need to be in, and then you have to put them in that order or touch them in that order. And so I thought, oh, it's the Sean puzzle, because I really was like, I had to get out my pencil and write down which came first and last in the riddle. And so So there are some more difficult puzzles, but other than that, my only two complaints, two real like, I hope they fix these complaints. One, the camera cannot be turned in 360 degrees, which for
No, it's like
most,
you've got 45 to 45.
yeah, for most of the game is not an issue. But when you fight bosses, they put you normally in a large arena, and when that boss is behind you and there's no way to see where it really is coming from, you're just trying to pay attention to like the sides of your screen to see if you see him anywhere. It's really annoying. It doesn't work very well. Like if you're not going to let me see behind me, don't let the bosses get behind me, I guess. And so it makes it I wasn't a big fan of that. My last part is I'll say they use mirrors as I cannot think of the
Fast
word.
travel.
Fast travel. Thank you. They use mirrors as fast travel points. Works great. It feels like in the last 25% of that game, they just were like, nah, forget it. Like you level up your character with these feathers that you get as you basically it's experience points, but they're in the form of feathers. You get experience points as you kill enemies, obviously. I ended the game with 90,000 feathers. I could have probably upgraded my character 3 times, but I would have had to walk all the way back out of this gigantic castle to get to the nearest mirror, unless I missed one. It's completely possible that I missed a mirror somewhere, but I didn't see one. Like put a right before you're about to fight the final boss, put a mirror there so I can, because I have to go all the way to the witch's hut which is a long way away
The
to
very
get
first section, yeah.
the very first section to go upgrade. So it's like it would make sense if you put a mirror right before the final boss so that I could like use all these feathers that I have. But I was like, nah, I'm just gonna see if I can take her on and finish this thing off because I'm not gonna try to walk all the way back there. And sure enough, the bosses are not super difficult. So it's got a cute story, a fun art style. It's condensed. I will give the devs kudos. A lot of times they like to drag these stories out anymore, and it probably would have lost its charm on me. It was the perfect size to be like, okay, that was great. I felt like, I was almost done hacking and slashing these guys. So yeah, I would say I would go back and play a Ravenlok 2 for sure. And if you find any interest in that kind of stuff, you could play it in a night if you so wanted. And then I've been
I
playing
played.
Advance Wars. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, when I played maybe 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're like halfway done.
And I got through the Mask Mansion. I helped the little fluff bunny people.
Mm-hmm.
Got the Hedgehog Star opened up. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was great. I turned the music down because that was the one thing I didn't like. So
Yeah, that's what Bruce said too. Bruce said he wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the music. I mean, it wasn't like right home for me, but yeah, Bruce said the same
thing. It was just very repetitive. So yeah.
I will say if you're an old school gamer, you'll find old school game mechanic-y things like you can look at certain item, like there's this row, speaking of the bunnies, there's these rows and rows of shelves because they're in this workshop, and you can go to one workshop and it's like there's a bunch of cogs here, probably don't need to touch these, and you're like go to the next shelf, hit it, there's a bunch of cogs here. And it so reminded me of just like old school adventure games where you could touch everything and it probably was just going to give you the same dialogue.
Pokemon Red and Yellow, I got that where like there's a trash can, it's full of trash.
Yeah.
You just because.
So so that just made me laugh. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't take away or add anything to the game. But if you're an old school gamer, you'd be like, wow, I remember these days. You don't get that much anymore. So, and then I think I'm on the last mission of at least Advanced Wars 1. I don't really know how this works. I've just been playing the game. Like, I think I'm only playing Advanced Wars 1, so I'm guessing that when I beat this, Advanced Wars 2 opens up. I have no idea. But anyways, this mission, I've only been defeated twice, and this mission is the first one where I'm like, what the hell are you people doing to me? Like he has all these bombers and fighters, and they're like, here's your tank and a submarine. Have fun. And I'm like, what? I don't know I have no idea how to take this on. So, and I'm not playing I'm playing middle difficulty, I believe. So yeah, it's just I don't know. So I gotta. I've only tried it once. I gotta get back to that. But that is a game where it's like I can kind of see the map in my head, and sometimes I'm like, I'm trying to figure out like how I move the pieces to like to figure this to take him on. It's a game. It's a game that does sit with me. So, and that's me. And in 2 days I play Tears of
Yeah,
the Kingdom.
that's cool. And then yeah, I think we're both trying as hard as to clear his gaming backlog before Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, because it's just I know for a fact Friday I come off nights Friday morning, and I'm gonna need to try and get some sleep because I'm going through to York for a little bit with Lindsay in the afternoon. But Friday night, I am literally just gonna be. I'll either have the Switch in handheld and playing it that way, or it'll be on the TV. And if anybody wants to watch TV, it'll be a see you later. Go watching it on whatever device you can watch on.
So I will say, my wife reminded me this weekend. She was like, "Don't forget, honey, you have to handle the. You're gonna. I'm leaving for the wedding next. At this point, what'll be next Wednesday. Um, so you'll be on your own for like until Sunday." And I thought, oh my god, they're going to bed, Sean. They're going to bed at 8 o'clock. I'm like, kids, you're getting your bed because I'm playing Zelda for like 4 hours a night for the entire part of that week.
Hey, look, kids, they're doing daylight savings again, so we have to put the clocks forward. See you later.
Hey kids, look, it's 8 o'clock. Dad, we just got home from school. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things. It's crazy. Must have been a long drive home from school.
Getting older nowadays, days just fly by. See you later.
Yeah, it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so gonna work out so well for me at the moment. So, yeah.
On the flip side of that is when I'm getting up at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and you're still awake playing Zelda, do you need me to give you the usual?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that would be great.
Go get some sleep.
Yeah, I do have to wake up and actually be a father for the day, like like have to adult and be a father for the day. So I gotta get that done, and then yep.
But the thing is, on Saturday, you know full well Noah will like want to sit, and Ariel will as well. There's an aspect of you rescuing a princess, so that'll adhere to Ariel's heartstrings, and Noah will want to watch you blink and be the
yeah, but I got to get it
hero,
approved.
etc.
So I haven't done the trailer. I got to find a good trailer. Remember, I got to get it approved through their wife first. So like it literally, like Noah asked me because it's sitting on my Switch. He's like, "Do I get to watch that?" And Becca looked at me and I was like, "I gotta ask. I gotta show Mom a trailer and she'll let me know." So,
I haven't watched any of the trailers. I'm going into this blind. I didn't want to know any of the premise of the story and stuff like that. I literally want to fire this game up and delve into the story, be dragged in like always with Zelda. So.
I agree. I haven't watched one either, but I'm gonna have to now to know that if I can play it.
Well, the thing is, if you do it the night before, you're not going to be too. There's not the ruin of knowing too much too soon.
Yeah. It'll be fine. But I know I am super pumped, and we're gonna try to keep the Game Pass news on Game Pass and Xbox, but I'm not gonna make any real promises here. Okay.
Yeah, we'll save the Zelda bit to the last of the show, so you can get through all of the Xboxy stuff like we've done pretty much now. You can get through all the Xboxy stuff first, and then we'll have a chat about Zelda and how we feel about it.
There you go.
So. And on that bombshell, everybody, it is time to wrap the show up. So if you want to find us anywhere on social media, you can do. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Everything's at Game Pass News. If you want to send us an email, tell us to stop talking about Zelda for the next couple of weeks, you can do that by emailing us at gamepassnewscast@gmail.com. If you're listening to us via a podcasting app and want to leave a review, you can do. That'd be great. Thank you very much. If you want to jump in on the Discord and chat with us there, you can chat Zelda, you can chat Game Pass, you can chat anything you want. Great group of dads in there, and it's fantastic. You can do that by subscribing to our Twitch channel. Thanks very much, Ebisoul, for jumping in the live chat this evening. It's great to have you. And until next time, everybody, we shall see you later.
See you later, guys.